Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to learn how to calculate total realized or unrealized gain or losses on our trial balance account on a monthly basis. So as an accountant, you may be posed with the challenge of determining what the FX gain or losses are on your monetary items or your balance sheets or on your trial balance on a monthly basis to be reported in your P&L. Usually, this exercise is being done by your company's application systems. But if that's not the case in your company, or you're meant to manually recalculate these on a monthly basis to determine what the FX gain or losses are, you are welcome to stay on this video and watch to the end to see how you can do this manually, right? So we have typical trial balances, which is denominated in the USD or US dollars. We have our asset accounts with account numbers starting from 1, and the numbers are positive on the trial balance on a monthly basis. And we have our liability accounts with account numbers starting from 2, and the numbers in negative balances on a monthly basis. We've obtained our FS rates, the closing rates for each month from December 2019 down to December of 2018. So that's the period our calculation would cover. Then we've also put across some formulas to help us determine what our total FX gain or losses would be by adding extra 6 columns in between each month to determine this. So the first one is the movement in the month. That is comparing the prior year month against the current year month to see what the movement in dollar terms is. Then the next step is to then convert this movement using the previous month exchange rate and also the current month exchange rate. Then we'll determine which portion of the movement relates to unrealized FX gain or loss, the part that relates to realized FX gain or loss, and of course the total FX gain or loss for each account balance. So without wasting much time, we're going straight into the calculation. So I'm going to do for the first period between December 2019 and November 2019 and insert my 6 extra columns. I'll click on column F and insert extra 6 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so I'll copy these headings, copy and then paste by transposing them. Then I'll wrap my test. Awesome. So I can first step, which I mentioned, and give this a red color test so it's easier for us to see through. Step 1, like I mentioned, is to determine the movement in dollar terms between the previous months in December, the current month in December and the previous month in November. So this is equals to December balance minus the November balance. Drag down. This is in dollar terms. Then I need to then convert this movement to pounds equivalent for the previous month's FX rate and the current month FX rate. So that takes us to step 2 and 3. So for step 2, I'm going to apply this movement on the previous month exchange rate, which is the FX rate for November 2019. I'll freeze the cell for the exchange rate, F4 on my keyboard, and drag down. Right, so this is the pounds equivalent of the dollar movement. So I'll do this for the current month FX rate as well. So I'll take the movement, which is in column F, multiply by the December exchange rate, which is this amount, F4 on the keyboard, press the enter key, and I'll drag down. Lovely. And this concludes step 3. Right? So we have 3 extra columns to complete, which is unrealized FX gain or losses, realized FX gain or losses, and the total FX gain or losses for each account balance on this spreadsheet. So for me, I'm going to start with column K as my step 4, which is to determine the total FX gain or losses. And we have our formula here that says to do that, we need to multiply the current month by the current rate minus the previous month, the previous rate, less the movement in dollar terms multiplied by the current rate. All right. So to do that, I'll say equals to open my brackets, closing balance multiplied by the closing rate, raise this rate by pressing F4, close my bracket, minus, open another bracket, the previous month, which is in November, multiply by the November rate. I'll freeze the rate cell as well, F4 on the keyboard, close my bracket, then do same on the movement, minus my bracket, the movement balance in dollar terms, multiply by the closing rate. Then press my F4, close my brackets. All right, so this will give us the total FX gain or losses on each of the account balances. All right, so I press the enter key. I have a loss of £29 to be recognized in the P&L. So I'll drag down for the rest. All right, so this concludes step 4. So the next thing is to determine step 5, which is the realized FX gain or loss portion of this total FX gain or loss. So I'll say this is step 5. And our step 5 formula says that for realized gain or FX gain or loss is to determine what is the gain or loss on the movement for asset balance, which is represented by this first argument, and the FX gain or loss on the liability side, which is represented by the second argument. Okay, though it may seem a bit complicated, but as we follow through these formulas, it's easier to present when we enter on the spreadsheet. I'll say equals to, open my bracket. So let's carefully follow through the realized FX gain or loss formula. It says if, so I'll type the if, open my bracket, and the logic, and so we're going to create a logical argument that says if two conditions exist, bring X or Y. All right, so our conditions now, our argument is if the December balance, right, which is the current month, is greater than equals to 0, which means this is an asset because it's positive. Greater than equals to 0 means you're expecting to see a positive number, and positive numbers are assets on your trial balance, right? Is equals to 0. And if the movement in dollar terms, which is column F, is negative, less than 0, close my bracket. So if these two arguments exist, right, they bring for me the previous month FX converted amount in pounds terms less the current month pounds equivalent amount, right? So if these two conditions exist, bring the difference between the amount in step 2 and the amount in step 3. All right, so once we've done that, but if this condition do not exist, bring 0. All right, so this is the first argument for the asset leg. I'll close my bracket and I'll bring in the plus sign. So we've done for the asset side, so let's do for the liability side. Again, we enter the if function and so we create another logical argument that says that if this same balance in column E is less than equals to 0, that is a negative balance, which is a liability, and the movement in dollar terms, which is in F, column F, is positive by saying it's greater than 0. Close my brackets, comma, bring the movement between step 2 minus step 3. All right, so I close my brackets. Sorry, I say the comma or print 0, so it doesn't double count between asset and liability. I close my brackets for the first time, and I close my bracket for the second argument. press the enter key. All right. So I can drag down so you can see that in all of this calculation, for the first account balance that says asset has increased, because the asset wasn't, because the increase in the asset wasn't present in the previous month, so it won't give rise to any gain or losses. So which means that the balance or the total FX loss that is being reported under step 4 are all unrealized, right? So I can then say equals to, so the unrealized portion, which is the step 6, is simply the difference between our formula here, the total FX gain or loss minus the realized gain or loss portion. So I do this equals to step 4 balance minus step 5 balance, and I'll drag down. Lovely. So you can see what this means is that under step 4, we've calculated the total FX gain or losses, and for the bank balance, we've had a loss of 29.37, and in this amount, realized portion of it is 0, while the unrealized portion is the total amount that has been reported as total FX gain or loss on this account balance. So this simply means is that, what this simply means is that you have an asset of 3506 in November, and you've received cash into your bank, like cash for a trade receivable. Receivable reduces, which means that there's a realized portion on that balance, and assets then increases. So because asset has increased, the increase wasn't available as at November, so that increase shouldn't give rise to a realized gain or loss. So that's why we're reporting by our formula, realized portion of this account is 0, and the amount is then recorded as unrealized, which is simply the movement in exchange rate between the previous month and the current month multiplied by the closing balance from November. So the same thing to do that is just previous month, current month. So previous month rate is in November, which is this. Current month rate is in December, which is this. And the movement between these two is this. So between these two, then multiply by the closing balance in November. So we have exactly 29.37. So this is just to explain what we've experienced on that cash account, right? So we've done this for this period between December and November. So we need to then do between November and October. So to do that, I would just have to copy the formulas from step 1 down to step 6. And then after I have inserted my 6 extra columns, I'll copy and paste, and the formula should calculate automatically. All I need to do is to look for the exchange rate that's been used and adjust for them accordingly. So to do that, I'll enter 6 extra columns for the next period. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I would copy this and paste. So I'll have to validate the accuracy of the numbers and formulas. So this is simply November and October, which is correct. Then in terms of the rates for the previous month now needs to be in October. So I'll drag down. Then the current month then have to be in November. I'll drag down. Then the FX gain or loss, step 6. Let me bring this in here as well, so easier to follow. So we'll go to step 4 and adjust the FX rates being used. So we move this down to this, move this down to this, and move this down to this. Okay, press the straight down arrow key, then I come to my realized gain or loss amount, and this should calculate correctly, and I'll drag down, and that's correct. So you can see that for cash now, because asset has reduced, so you've made a transaction. So that transaction has given rise to, so you paid out the amount from your bank. So that payment you made has given rise to a realized loss on that transaction you made, because in October, cash balance was 18K, and now it has reduced to November by 5K. So that transaction you've done will give rise to realized loss of 439 and an unrealized bit of 109 and a total of 541. All right, so that also applies down to other balances on the trial balance. So we've done for the period months of November and October. So the next thing we need to do is to do for October and September. So I'll scroll further down and create the 6 extra columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'll come in here and copy my steps. Step 1 to 6. Copy and I'll paste. All right, then I'll check the accuracy of the amount and the formula that it's picking from. So step 1 is fine, which is simply movement between October and September numbers. Then in terms of the FX movement from the previous month, so this should then use our September rates. Drag down. Then this should then be for October rates. Just drag down. Then I then need to go to calculate my rates used on the total FX gain or loss. So I'll come in here. So October rates should be now be September, and November rates now being October. Be very careful while you pick these rates to ensure accuracy of your FX gain or losses computation. So step 5 is fine because the cells are relative. Why step 6 is simply the difference between the step 4 and step 5. So we have more realized losses on the bank balance, because previously in September balance was at 4K, now it has reduced to 18K. So that will give us to a realized loss portion and an unrealized loss portion, and a total of 930. So I'll do a similar thing for August and September. 6 additional columns. So copy my formulas from step 1 down to step 6. Paste, check accuracy of the formulas that's been picked. So adjust this now. This is fine in terms of movement in dollar terms. The movement translated using previous exchange rate, which is in August. Drag this down. Then in terms of dollar terms, our current month, which is 9 September, drag it down. Then come to step 4 to adjust the rate that is being paid for the total FX gain or loss. Then September rate should now be in August, and October rate now in September, by just moving your cell to those rates periods. So I'll drag down. So you can see that for the bank balance, we've not had a realized gain or loss, because our balance was lesser in August and now higher in September. So that shouldn't give rise to a realized gain or loss, but an unrealized portion of it, which also forms the total FX gain or loss reported in your P&L for this particular account balance. So I'll do a similar thing for July and August. So 6 additional columns. Copy my steps 1 to 6, paste, then check the accuracy of the FX rate being picked. Then this becomes in July, which is the previous month. Drag down, and this becomes in August, the current month. Drag down, then unrealized gain or loss remains the same in terms of the formula. Adjust step 4 based on the rates that has been picked. So August rate becomes July rate, and September rate becomes August rate. Press the enter key and I'll track down. So I'll do a similar thing for July also and June. Copy my formula step 1 to 6 and check for accuracy of the formulas and the rates being picked. This becomes June, drag down, and step 3, this becomes July, we'll drag down. Then step 4, this becomes July rate becomes June, and August rate becomes July. Right, so I'll do similar thing for June and May months. Copy my formulas from step 1 to 6, paste, check for the rates being picked. Under step 2 becomes May rates, drag down. This becomes step 3 becomes June rates, drag down, and step 4 becomes for May rates. June rate becomes May, and July becomes June rates respectively. Press the enter key, drag down. That's being calculated. So I'll do similar thing for March and April. Sorry, May and April. Copy my formula step 1 to 6. Step 2, rates becomes April, previous month, and current month rate becomes May. Drag down. Then on step 4, May rate becomes April, and June rate becomes May. So drag down. Come to between April and March. Copy my steps and formulas. Movement is fine. Step 2 rates becomes March, previous month, and the current month becomes April. Drag the rates to April month, drag down, and the step 4 rates also needs to be adjusted between March and April. So April rate becomes March, and the May rate comes down to April. I'll drag down. Then for March and February, create these additional columns. Copy my steps and formulas. Adjust step 2 rates becomes February. And step 3 becomes March. Drag down. Then step 4 becomes the March rate becomes February rate, and the April rate becomes March rate. Press the enter key, and I'll drag down. Then I'm left with February and January. Press 6 additional columns. Copy and paste steps and formulas. Then adjust my step 2 rates to become January rate. Step 3 to become February rate. And step 4 to become February rate to January and March rate to February. Alright. Now drag down. And lastly, between December the previous year 2018 and January of 2019, so I'm creating also my extra 6 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. copy the steps and the formulas, and then change my rates in step 2 to December rate as the previous month. Drag down. Step 3 as the current rates for January 2019. Drag down. And then my total FX gain or loss rates needs to also be adjusted between December 2018 and January 2019. So January 2019 should then become December 2018 rates, and February becomes January rates, respectively. Press the enter key, drag down. Awesome. So we've calculated the FX gain or loss on a month-on-month basis across these account balances on your trial balance, denominated in dollar terms. All right. So the next thing for us to do is to then determine what is the total unrealized FX gain or loss across the 12 months period, and the total realized gain or loss on these account balances. So to simply do that, just your addition. The total unrealized is speaking from step 6 across the months. So this plus the months in November, this plus this plus this plus this plus, all in step 6. Plus 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 in March plus February plus January. All right, so we had 12 months summed up under total unrealized FX gain or loss. We can see that our FX has given rise to a gain for the bank balance. Then you can just copy this formula and paste on the total realized FX gain or loss. And we have a realized amount of 877 realized gain and unrealized gain of 5,251. So you can easily drag this down to calculate for the rest of the balances, and then sum up our total realized and unrealized gain or loss. So you can see that for the total realized, this is largely contributed by the cash balance, which is the bank in USD account. We have accrued income, and we have our other trade receivables, right? Then on the unrealized bit is largely due to the long-term borrowings, which gave rise to negative 77,000. And while we have that was slightly offset by the unrealized gains in the bank balance of 5,251. Thank you for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.